Welcome into the Furniss Fast Lane, our Facts Not Feelings, Furniss Fast Lane. And as I'm trying to say that, a piece of granola just came out of my teeth. So there's that, everyone.
Yummy.
And I literally just brushed and flossed my teeth. I was like, oh, there's trying to get the words out. But yeah, we're here. It's Friday. We've made it. And maybe more important, well, two more importantly, it's March Madness time. My bracket has not fully combusted yet, which is great. And I got to talk to my younger brother, Jordan. Jordan, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. Just chilling with my sister.
Yeah, buddy. So how was your bracket? Have you even had a spare moment to fill out a bracket this year?
Yeah. Yeah, it's doing all right. Had a few upsets there, but other than that, it's been pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Nothing
All
too
right.
crazy. A couple games, but everything's been going pretty as planned.
And I was debating. I was like, should we do a show over the next couple weeks? I'm like, you got March Madness, and we all know that we've got 15 different screens up at this point watching March Madness here. But Jeff Shearer, buddy, always good to see you. Always good to see you. And you were first. You beat Peter, you beat Larry, you beat everyone on this one. So congrats on that one, buddy. And the other Jeff, who is when other Jeff gets in here, it'll be his birthday because it's his birthday every single day.
Oh wow!
You were just up at your wonderful. It's like your happy place, your cabin. Jordan's in California. You're up at Big Bear. How's your week been? How are things going for you?
Yeah, so we have a place a few hours away from where we're at in Southern California, up in Big Bear, and it's a nice little retreat for us to go and get out of the craziness of California sometimes, but be up in the mountains and kind of feel like we're somewhere else. So that was a good reset to be up there. It got a few feet of snow while we were there. So I spent hours trying to dig out our driveway. It was like just the worst because in California, like you get really heavy wet snow. And it like you like shovel a foot and you got to lift it up and like throw it and like you can't like push it. It's so heavy, and we have a really steep driveway at that place, and that was backbreaking. But we got dug out and had a fun weekend there.
Okay. Now, how does it compare to Utah snow? Because obviously we're both very familiar with Utah snow.
Yeah, so like Utah and the Rockies, like that's like usually it's so cold in those areas that like the snow is a lot lighter when it snows and more powdery. But in California, it's like 50 or 60 up there, and then it will snow, and so it's like barely like cold enough sometimes to snow. So it's really like kind of rainy, wet snow. So it's like super heavy. So
I don't know how
and it can be really slick too. Like it gets compacts. So yeah, people go off the road all over the place, and it's really heavy snow. Really different than the Rockies or the West there.
Well, and Jeff's in Denver, so he always will like send me this. It'll be like -20 outside. He's like, "Oh, it's 50 here." He's originally from Chicago, so it's always like, "Oh." And we've had. So I was texting you the other day. Like we've had like I don't know, it was 15 seasons in 24 hours. I mean, we went from 70 degrees to raining and hailing, and just got pelted with hail. Then it went to snowing the next day. Yeah, it's been all over the map. So I'm like, today hopefully we'll like level out a little bit. It's not 72 and sunny like it is you all the time, but it's all good. Yeah. I got to look out my window, so it's all good.
Did it warm up today a little bit for you?
A little bit. Like we're sitting at 46 degrees right now. So yeah, it's definitely warmer. Oh, wow. Yeah. not your ideal.
A little above freezing. There you go. Sounds great.
Little bit. All right, well, let's jump into this. So we had an awesome episode. For those that don't know, and let me know in the chat here. I've had a lot of technical glitches this morning, to say the least. So if you're in here, throw an emoji in here, throw something in, let me know that the chat's working okay here. But for those that don't know, Jordan, obviously, last name, very similar. He is my younger brother. Known him, obviously, my entire life, as it turns out. Known him for a hot minute. But the very first episode I ever did, Jordan was part of that. And because he suffered through that, I mean, not knowing what the hell I was doing, I was like, we got to bring you back on. A little bit more professional at this point, just a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit. And it's just been so cool to watch your journey and then how much you've helped me and all that. So with it, let's dive into this episode here. So what was one of your main takeaways of the episode we just dropped?
One of my things that I really enjoyed, like from our discussion, was going back, just the name of the show, like Facts Not Feelings, and going to like the idea that people think that taking a risk is super risky and haphazard. And that was one of the things that I've learned over the years, and from our episode I enjoyed talking about, which is just the things you can do to make sure that these risks aren't that risky, that you can have some, they can be calculated. If you do it, just like a few things of talk to some people, do some research, come up with a really cheap MVP to test out your idea ahead of time, that you can mitigate a lot of the, the so-called risk with this opportunity that you might go, be going after. And that if you do those little things, then, you're going to have a higher success of this risk or this opportunity, and it's not going to be as risky. So yeah, something that really stood out to me as we were chatting there about just the feelings that people have about risks, but the actual fact that they're not going to be that bad if you do a few things.
And it is. And to Jeff Shear's point, real quickly, you have one of the best names for Chicago. This is true. Jeff, this is a true story. While I did not name my younger brother, I took credit that his name was Michael Jordan. Like it's not Michael Jordan, but in my mind, I don't know if I always like, oh, it's Michael Jordan. So in my mind, that's why mom named you Jordan. So in case you're wondering. And Dusty
all those
always
Jordan jerseys were just, I thought were for me.
Yes, right. My addiction to Jordans is actually twofold. It's addiction to my younger brother and apparently kicks. So it works here. and Dusty, you'll appreciate this. So Dusty, a good friend of mine, and taking those risks. And that was one of my, the phrase that stuck out more than anything else was risky does not equal risk. Like taking a risk does not have to be risky. And that like stuck in my mind so much. And Dusty, I know with Loon, like there was that transition of one going from the dealership to cognition and now to Loon. And that's, you can attest this, like you're taking a risk, but is it really risky? Is it a calculated risk? So that was one thing in particular. Like I said, I even said this yesterday on the walk and talk, that phrase just stuck out to me so much, because it is like, I look back at things I've done and they were definitely, it was a big risk. It could have been risky, but I also knew how much the calculations beforehand before I ever took that leap on that. So I very much agree on that one. Very much agree on that. Yeah. And I think for those who don't know as well, Jordan has a reputation company called AlfaPhox. And I personally used it at the dealership when I was in the dealership. It wasn't just because he's my brother. That at the time, there was nobody else at the time that could integrate and say, okay, if this is a sales listing or a sales review, it should go to the sales listing. If it's a service review, it should go to the service listing. Like this, it sounds very simple, but I'm going to tell you, when I went through this, I went through the gauntlet trying to find any company that could do this. And lo and behold, I had a brother I could call and be like, oh, he's like, yeah, I can do that. When an RO closes, like that should go to the specific thing. And so when you looked at starting Estify, that's not a company, but starting AlfaPhox, did you know going in that this was a big issue of not being able to connect certain listings and service listings with the businesses?
Good question. Didn't really know that was like a major pain point for some of these larger dealerships. I just knew that there was an opportunity in the auto industry and a few other industries that were just being kind of underserved. The solutions at the time had a few, I feel like, holes in them. And I felt like we could come in and maybe fill those holes and provide a little bit better solutions, a little bit better customer service, better price point, flexible terms, just things that were kind of lacking. And, we saw that there was a huge market, obviously, across the country, and that the solutions out there, some of them did fit the auto industry, and then these other industries too we were looking at didn't really have a good solution. So that's where we came in and kind of found that opportunity, filled those holes that were there with the current solutions. And that was one of them that we found later on, was that, hey, like, with these different listings of service and parts and sales, some of the huge, billion-dollar company providers out there weren't able to do that type of thing. And, it wasn't too terribly difficult for us to figure that out. So jumping into the industry and being just there provided us that opportunity to be like, well, hey, we can actually probably do that. And we were able to, and able to help a lot of businesses and help them grow. And, like we mentioned on the podcast, like that one that you're talking about, that their service listing was doing better than like Pet Boys and those types of things. Like, like you guys, these businesses are sitting on a landmine or a gold mine of, customers that are happy, that are repeat customers. And if you just implore a little bit of technology and a solution here, then you can really reap those benefits. And it's pretty crazy how quickly it can happen and the results you can get.
Oh, amen. I mean, even now, it's like, I look at my clients that they have partnered with some reputation management company, and I'm still shocked how many can't go to the listing. Like, that is something I just don't understand, because I'm not gonna say it's difficult, but at this point, you should be able to do that and not because when it comes down to like when people have a problem, they're going to go to social media, and you said multiple times, everybody thinks they're an influencer. So make sure it's going to the right area. And then also make sure you respond to those reviews. Like that is something that is such a pet peeve of mine. Like, I don't care if it's if it just do a star rating or it's only good reviews or only respond to all of them, because that's what Google and your local search authority is going to be looking at those things. So please respond to all your reviews.
Yeah. Yeah, from like a search, like SEO perspective, that's awesome. But then also just from like a psychology perspective too, like when customers see that, like they spent the time to share their experience with you, you can spend the extra 10 seconds and, you know, say thank you to them, you know, and that influences a lot more customers too when they see that. Like the effect you can have isn't, you know, it's hard to measure that and see that, but it has a real big effect on potential other customers too when they see that you're engaging and appreciative of people's comments that they've left with you.
And Google's done it. I mean, Google and multiple people have done, third parties have done studies on this to be like, okay, then research to say, if you're not because you're not going to have a 5-star. Like if you, as we talked about, if you have 5,000 reviews and they're all 5 stars, that's going to automatically tell me that you're buying the reviews. Like they're not legit. In fact, Google just announced, I think it was yesterday or the day before, they're actually suing a company over fake reviews. Like they'd so many fake reviews on there. So having those bad reviews it's not a bad thing. One, it's a teaching moment to be like, hey, how could we have done better? And some people just want to watch the world burn, and there's nothing you can do. Like, believe me, I've been on social media long enough to know that people just suck. Like they do. Like there's some great people, but there's a lot out there that just want to hide behind their computers and they're very unhappy. And I get it a lot. So while that does happen, see if there's anything you can do to mitigate it. Hey, we forgot to do this. Oh, thank you. That's a good idea. We'll keep that in our process moving forward. For those people that are just angry human beings, there's not a lot I can do. Say your piece in regard to like, hey, I've answered it and done my due diligence here. So someone comes by, they can see this person's crazy, and we've done our best to help with that situation. Yeah. So what was one of your other takeaways?
I don't know. I really just enjoyed the discussion about, like, again, facts, not feelings type of thing. Again, sometimes we're afraid to even ask for reviews because talking about the negative reviews, like people think that, a negative review is going to, destroy my business, and I'm afraid to even ask people. So I'd rather just not ask people, not have any reviews, thinking it's better to have no reviews than potentially a negative review. And that's, again, just a feeling people have. But the fact is that that's not a good approach to your business at all. One, that probably means you have a bad business. If you're that afraid to talk and engage with your customers, then you're doing something very wrong with your business. But the reality is that even if you're nervous, like I've seen so many businesses that, had that paradigm of thinking that, I'm just afraid to ask people because what if they leave a bad review? And like you just said, like that bad review actually isn't bad at all. Like it shows that you're real, that it's legitimate business, that we're human. We made a mistake, but hey, we had tried everything we could to probably correct that. And it shows here that we've had this dialogue with that person, or we reached out to them. And it gives legitimacy to your reviews and to your business, that they're not fake, that, yes, 99% of them are all positive. But yeah, there are some maybe crazy people, or people that had a bad day, or something that was out of your control, or maybe you really did mess up, but you guys addressed it. And that actually, proves a lot to people that, hey, even if things do go south, like this company is going to do all they can to try to help if they can. So that was another kind of, fact, not feeling that stood out to me.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of a video I posted a while ago. Oh, that's like years ago. And one thing, didn't know what I was doing, and I was just trying to help. And it is crazy. It still gets a lot of eyeballs, which is great. I just have to laugh when people like in the beginning, I would take it so personal because that's just how I am, of this, like people just going off of me like what a horrible video it is. I'm like, then why did you took the time to watch it and then write on it? So now it's just funny, like the comments that come in. I'm like, if it's really that if it's the worst video you've seen on YouTube, one, congrats on seeing every video on YouTube. Secondly, thank you. I did not know that I won the award for best video ever, best worst video ever. Like I'm okay with that. Like, I mean, how about you get behind outside your screen and maybe have that conversation face to face with me? But no, it's any engagement. Like, I mean, as long as people are engaging, I know that our knee jerk reaction as humans to be like, I'm going to take offense to this. When in fact, it's like, no, one, they're commenting, whether that's on social, whether that's on Google, whatever, they're telling you something. There's usually a rhyme or reason for that. They just might want to be heard. Maybe they heard that you just give us stuff away free all the time. And so I'm going to complain so I can get my $25 gift card to Nike. Like, so why do you have so many people complaining? Is it an internal issue and a process we need to look at? Maybe it's a personnel issue where, hey, the same person's getting ragged on all the time. Maybe we should look into that. Or, there's just a lot of things I can go into for when someone decides to leave that bad review.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
Right. Yeah. Awesome, man. I think we've covered a lot of it here. I at this point, I've decided everyone is watching March Madness. We're not using this quiet here. And not that I don't disagree with that. Like I actually
add a few screens here in the games, and
like,
maybe people will.
I've got my phone over here, and so I do have my bracket up here, like kind of like looking over and looking at the, what's the score of the Baylor game. But we're gonna wrap it up. I mean, we're not quite end of month here, but we are. I would say it's the first day of spring yesterday, but it snowed here, so there's that. But I think we're just gonna get out of here, Jordan, and go watch some basketball. Probably, watch some basketball. Do all that. Everyone, this is the second to last episode. We're going to have David Murad on next week. His episode's dropping on Thursday. We'll have the show on Friday. If you don't know David, if you've heard of Conversica, you've most likely heard of him. He's a brilliant human being. He now has a company called Contactor. We're going to have him on the show next week. And before we get out of here, Russell, oh my goodness, Russell, good day to you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks again, Russell, for the help last week of getting the right person that I needed. I super appreciate that. So with that, everyone, we're going to get out of here. We're going to go watch some basketball. I'm hoping you guys do the same. Hope you have a great end of the month. With that, everyone, you all know the drill at this point. Find a way to serve, whether that's opening a car door, whether it's a kind smile. Just do something to better someone's life and bring a little bit more joy into that. With that, everyone, we're going to see everybody next week.